Hey guys, today with the topic, how high is my chance of X back actually? I must tell you directly that of course every relationship, every person and every situation is different, and without knowing this exactly, it is difficult to say. But there are many things that generally increase or decrease your chances. Let's start with the most important one in my eyes. The bond, attraction and limerence. Briefly again as a refresher, in the phase of limerence, infatuation, rose-colored glasses, call it what you will. At the beginning of your relationship your attraction is usually at the highest point you can reach with each other, and this phase is there to bring the bond through common special events and closeness as quickly as possible to a value with which you are no longer dependent on so much attraction. Quasi so that you have a feeling of togetherness without having to jump each other permanently. Why am I telling you this now? Because the limerence is over after 3 to 8 months on average. That means if there was so much drama in your relationship in the first few months that it led to a breakup, then you are in the most unfavorable situation back to an ex that there can be. Because then you don't even really have a certain basic bond that your ex can fall back on to even miss you. This would all have remained relatively superficial in a relationship of less than 6 months and is not strong enough to really be longed for again. I mean, what have you had? You have ruined the time in which everything was supposed to be effortless, easy and beautiful by drama and fights, or the attraction was so deep despite the fact that it was at your personal maximum that the woman could break up with you. Something was fundamentally wrong there, because actually at the moment she wouldn't care about any of your mistakes and she would only see the good in you. Such relationships, any wish you in the next few years best not back at all, and afterwards only if you both then two completely different people have become. Then you can generally look again. Then the relationships that break after the limerence, so between 6 and 12 months. There the chance begins slowly and the possibility becomes larger to have collected special moments. You become more and more accustomed to each other's closeness and become a support for each other. You rely on each other, develop common idiosyncrasies and walk a common path with potential to continue in the future. Still everything with reservations, but together you have survived the transition from infatuation phase to a possible everyday life and accept the new step together. This is a strong moment, which usually creeps in unconsciously, but does not change the fact that you more or less coped with it. If the relationship breaks up because of this, at least the limerence is over and has given you a bond to work with. Mostly in such phases arguments, sometimes even small things, or the fact that one partner has the thought that the limerence actually stands for love, and because the feeling is gone they are confused why this is the case and whether they still love you. So a temporary loss of attraction that causes confusion on your side, and in them the feeling that you are probably not so great and that would not be normal. You can counteract this relatively easily by leaving them alone before they can make the decision to break up with you, but of course very few do. Continue with everything over a year. This is when things start to get really serious and you've gotten past the actual beginning phase of the relationship. Now it's usually up to you to keep the attraction as high as possible, not put it on a pedestal, not mess up grossly, and strive for your best possible self. If you don't do one of these things, the breakup or at least drama is inevitable, and depending on how severe your transgression was and how your ex is, it can mean the complete end, but you now have a really good chance that she will miss you and can't even estimate what it will be like without you. Mostly they concentrate during or shortly after a breakup only on what is so bad and overlook your good sides and what they would miss at all if they kicked all that out of their lives. There they hold with the decision to break up at the beginning very well against it, and they have this also everything in the hand. It is their value that counts, because according to them they can manage without you, and they had a lot of time to plan this with you in mind. You are caught cold, you get everything they have felt in one moment, namely the moment of separation, and no longer understand the world. Which brings us to the next topic. How did you behave during the separation? You can imagine a scale. Your best chance is to be adult, friendly, and make the separation as easy as possible. You accept and respect her opinion, because you can't change it anyway, even if you would wish something else, and leave her alone, because you can live on without her and become happy again. Absolute optimum, and I have never seen it like this. unless the people have already had such a hard breakup and actively prepared for how they will act next time. Sure, there are people who intuitively act the same way, but that usually requires a lot of life experience and personal development. Everything else you can do, from begging, to stalking, to writing letters, to throwing your feelings at them in the hope that something will change, all of this reduces your chances and you notice it directly. They get colder and angrier, and the last sign that should make you understand that you should leave them alone is a block. If you ignore that too, or the police have to come, then X-back better make up right away, because then you've been on her case for so long and kept crossing personal boundaries of hers. You've made it so hard for her that if she would take you back because she misses you and something goes wrong, then she'd run the risk of having to go through this crap again. Always keep that in mind. The way you act in the breakup, you are raising the barriers for her to come back to you. Of course, there are shades of gray here. You could accept a friendship, for example, but you have to assume that you will have ulterior motives and they will know about it. A friendship is not possible if they are in a defensive position because they expect you to accept it only to have the possibility of a relationship again later. If they let this guard down over time and you implement your, in quotes, plan, you'll just pick up another breakup, and all the time since the last breakup was wasted for you and also for her, because she'll think even worse of you now. After all, you are a manipulative liar who used false facts to persuade her again to do something she didn't feel like doing and who doesn't value her opinion. Is that how a true friend acts? Surely not. So not an option, and in my eyes equal to begging and stalking. Not only does it ruin your chances, but it keeps you attached to her, and you will have to keep assessing each of your and her actions and put a hell of a lot of time, energy, and hope into it that will just be dashed in the end. What else plays into your chances? A new relationship from her side, for example. That can end negatively, and I know the fear behind that she will be happy with the new one and ride off into the sunset married with kids. But realize that your relationship did not fail solely because of you, and she most likely put her energy into the breakup and maintaining it. Not into her own development, which means she is going into the new relationship with the same problems she got out of yours with. I always like to say, her success rate in relationships? 0%. The general separation and divorce rate? Pay attention. First of all, a wedding is something significant in a woman's life, and especially the first one is a moment that pushes the bond on that day to the top. It's something she never forgets, and it's usually the result of a long, thoughtful relationship. The divorce rate in Germany is the last 20 years between 40 and 50%. Even when people were so damn sure of themselves, only about half of the marriages last. How likely is it that they don't even get there at this stage because the relationship goes down the drain before that? With your ex? Very likely, especially if she had little time between the new partner and you. You can only talk about a rebound if the relationship fails mainly because of the attachment to you. This happens on average in the first 6 months. After that, it would be a normal relationship that would have failed, and if they are sitting there alone like that, freshly separated and mostly knowing that they have messed up another relationship, being alone and possibly never having found the right partner. That is the point at which their new relationship can be positive for you. Because then they probably think, what is my ex actually doing? And if they just want to get the confirmation that you are more shitty than them. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that they are interested in taking a look at you. And if you have done well in the meantime, which is the next point, then you increase their interest damn fast. Because it's a different effect if you reveal to her everything you're doing and never leave a doubt that you're available, than if you elude her view. If she wants to look gladly, but you are not looking for a stage for what you make of yourself and whether you change now or not. Because when she sees you again after a longer time and you appear in all aspects of life and with new knowledge about attraction and attachment, you have a certain wow factor about you. It's as if she left you as Gollum and now you are standing before her in the form of Harvey Specter. This is not only good for your self-worth, it also increases your value in her eyes without you having to actively do anything with or for her. You just need to be yourself, and the happier and more independent you can become during the no-contact period, the higher your chance of interest from her side and having her eating out of your hand again. Because openly displayed and authentic attractiveness beats any mind game that you can play with her. And the last point is the most important one, namely whether you were able to recognize the big problem and the reason for the breakup and at least sort it out. Her statement will not help you, because she only wants her peace during and after the breakup. You have to find out on your own where your own problems lay and then solve them finally. Whether through personality development, security that you can give your partner, an honest apology when you messed up, your behavior that instead of reducing attraction in the future rather builds attraction. The reasons for a breakup can be many. Most of the time it is not just one thing, but no one wants to go back to the same relationship that drove them to give up the common future you saw. Make this clear to yourselves and if possible demand something new. The old relationship is over and you will not put yourself back into it. If you still have important points that increase or decrease the chances of an ex back or you have questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Take care and see you in the next video.